Casca is one of the best written female characters in all of manga, heck, in all of fiction for that matter, and this even includes her years as a psychologically broken Elaine. But how did Mira transform the standoffish unit commander into one of the most memorable and endearing characters within the Berserk lore? Well, to be honest, it comes from her friction with Guts, and eventually hits a head in chapter 16. As a brief recap, during their battle with Adon, Casca was experiencing stomach pains and exhaustion from her period. She eventually passed out on the lip of the cliff, forcing Guts to reach down and catch her. Unfortunately for him, he got pierced by one of Adon's arrows and fell down with her. After resuscitating her, he pulled her into a cave and kept her warm for the night. Upon waking up, she becomes appalled by her state of undress and subsequently beats down Guts. She then remembers the words of Adon. "I can't stomach it. A woman playing at being a knight. Women are inferior to men in strength. What use could they be in battle? Perhaps you even achieved your rank of commander by sneaking into that man Griffith's bedroom." The point is further emphasized by Guts' statement. "You're always so damn ready to be pissed off about something. This is why women ain't cut out to be warriors." Now these words cut Casca deeper than any sword could. That's because prior to meeting Griffith, she lived in abject squalor. The fields were barren, their bellies were empty, and many people starved to death during the winter time. Due to being located near a border, their town was often involved in skirmishes, forcing them to hide into the mountains and silently watch. We were all used to being robbed and walked over. I too thought that such a way was just natural. This is one of the most pivotal lines spoken by Casca, because it establishes her worldview under the Nietzschean construct of the master-slave dynamic. Now I won't go into all the nuances of master and slave morality, but in essence, master morality states that one affirms life through exercising domineering aspects of their personality, and this is all a means to benefit the individual. Now this morality was adopted by the noble class, and was reserved for the select few. Masters, therefore, create their own morality, and slaves, in turn, respond with their own moral system, based on the masters. Now, even though Nietzsche saw master morality as superior to slave morality, he was by no means a fan of it. He saw many flaws within the system due to its brutish nature, as seen by the noble that tried to rape Casca. So Nietzsche throughout history saw this dynamic play out. He saw the master morality and the slave morality, and he was trying to go for something higher. He saw the benefits of master morality, but there were also benefits to slave morality. And through slave morality, people were able to develop a conscience. So if you could take the life-affirming aspects of master morality and mix it with the conscientious parts of slave morality, you could theoretically get something higher than both of them together. A higher man, a Ubermensch, if you will. Now, slave morality, in opposition to master morality, originates in the weak and devalues everything that the masters see as good. They do not actively seek to overcome the masters, but rather attempt to pull them down to their level, or accept suffering and oppression as a natural part of life. Obviously, Casca falls into the latter camp with the statement, "I can't help it, it's natural," as she prepares to accept her unwanted fate. But before that happens, Griffith intervenes, offering her an opportunity to accept her fate through life negation, or to affirm it through courage and strength. And after she defends herself and kills the nobleman, she thusly joins the Band of the Hawk, and the rest is history. Now, does her joining the Band of the Hawk mean that she flipped the script, that she no longer falls under the slave morality and she has become a part of the master morality? I wouldn't go that far. Even though she does have characteristics of the master morality, she doesn't so much affirm the life of the individual, i.e. herself, but affirm the life of Griffith's dream. That was her purpose in life, was to make Griffith's dream a reality. And prior to meeting Griffith, she really couldn't stand on her own 2 feet. So without Griffith, she has nothing. And with Griffith, she has everything. And this brings me to the second point of slave morality. Now, because those who fall under slave morality are the oppressed and the lower class and the weak, they look for doctrines and belief structures that support their weakness and make it a virtue, make it a strength. Now, I'm not saying following the teachings of a religious doctrine is bad in and of itself. However, dedicating one's life to scripture and mythology obviates a lot of the challenges of reality and obviates the self and achieving a dream of your own. Now, the reason not believing in yourself can be a detriment is that it allows others to take advantage of you rather easily. Just look at Mosgus's followers, for example, the rejects of society, unfortunately, and Mosgus rounded them up, gave them a purpose in the doctrine of the Holy See, and turned them into vile creatures who abused and tortured people. Look at Lady Farnese, someone who had no direction in her life, started believing in the doctrine of the Holy See and Mozgus, and started burning people alive. It can become a vicious cycle. Now, Casca didn't believe in any sort of religious doctrine. However, when she first saw Griffith, she equated him to being an angel, saying he mimicked one of the murals on the church's walls. Judeau even makes the astute observation by stating, as for Casca, Griffith is truly special. It goes beyond feelings for him. He rescued her from despair and gave her a new life. So it's more than love she feels for him, it's more like worship. And then he later says, the old Casca would have never cared even if it came down to comrades getting hurt. I bet you she wouldn't have even faltered at losing her own life if it had been Griffith's will. To Casca, his word is gospel. So for her, Griffith was her God, was her purpose for living. She even says in chapter 46, I finally realized that day that more than Griffith brought to his knees from his first defeat, I couldn't tear my eyes away from him, and he left without even looking back. That I didn't want to admit what I had become. It was like the me I had been since I met Griffith. Like the feelings I had since then would all be false. Afraid of all that, I've lived by my sword, with the intent of sacrificing myself for unrequited feelings for Griffith. There's no falsehood in the way that I live. That alone was my pride, because it's what Griffith gave to me. And of course, in the very next scene, you see Casca lying down on the ground without any clothing on. And this is very symbolic of the fact that without Griffith's confidence, without that belief that he was this perfect angelic being, she had nothing. She was back in the position of being naked and vulnerable again. At least this time, though, it was by someone who was supportive of her and give her strength. But a different kind of strength. A strength that she could be her own person, rather than being supported in someone else's hands and be used as a weapon for someone else's intentions. She would be in a symbiotic partnership that would be both give and take, one in which gave purpose to both sides and supported each other's will to live. Despite having this affection for Guts, she still couldn't cut the ties with Griffith. He was too pivotal to her life up until this point, and seeing his dream die and his body desecrated, she just couldn't leave his side. She was weak all her life, and it was Griffith that gave her strength. Everyone is weak, and so they rely on dreams and other people. We all need something or someone to get us by. And as a form of reciprocation, Casca wanted to be by Griffith's side in his time of need. She couldn't completely sever the ties, as it would feel like a betrayal for what he gave to her. And because this bond was still there, the resulting rape was all the more detrimental to her psyche. Because it wasn't so much that Griffith was raping her, it was that Griffith was using her as an object to get revenge on Guts. She was merely a tool for Griffith, nothing more. Not even a human being at that point. And so, psychologically, she stopped being a normal human being and entered an infantile state. And it's kind of interesting too, because we kind of come full circle, because when Casca met Griffith, she was in these rags and had this long, unkept hair, and was accepting of her disposition in life. And after Griffith left her life, she was more or less in the same state once again, yearning for someone to take care of her and hide off in the deep cliffs of her mind, away from the danger. We talked about how slave morality was a doctrine of negation, saying no to life, and oftentimes creating a delusion in which you're the right one. Yes, they may have the power, but we're the good ones, and they're the evil ones. And while Casca didn't buy into any religious doctrine, she created the ultimate delusion, believing herself to be a child, so as to not interact with anyone on the conscious plane and never get hurt once again. But something always brought her back. Something always gave her a reason, a purpose, something greater than herself. The Moonlight Boy, the role of a mother, and a new calling in life. And this turned out to be validated when she regained her memories once again. Because even though she couldn't see Guts, and she couldn't go outside and do all the things that she used to do, when the Moonlight Boy re-entered her life, everything seemed back to normal again. She was at ease. She had confidence. She had purpose. She had a reason to live. A reason that she could believe in with her whole heart. And something that would sustain her for the rest of her life, rather than crush her hopes and dreams into a million pieces. And this is a beautiful use of symbolism on Miura's part because, like I said earlier, Griffith saw Casca as an object, as a tool, And how was Casca's body represented in her dream? As a doll, an object, not a real person. So seeing this transformation play out in Mira's epic was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in manga, one of the greatest character arcs I've ever experienced, and truly just an awe-inspiring experience.